Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. It's Friday evening, which means, of course, it's time for some Premier League content coming to you every Friday and hopefully Monday as well, going into the new season. We shall see if I can free people up. We're going to talk transfers and what's going on in and around the Premier League. Of course, I've got the regulars. No Oscar tonight. He's too busy. I don't know what he's up to. And we've got the lovely Matt back, and of course the mainstay, really part of the furniture of the Just Joe. I should call it the Just Joe and Corey show because he's here more than me half at time. But before we go to Matt, because we're going to start with Spurs, let me just check in and see how Corey's doing. How are you doing, mate? All right?
Very good, mate. Not feeling too knackered. Work from home today, so I've got enough energy. Yeah, can't complain. Obviously, it's still kicking off with West Ham and transfers, obviously, over the last day or so. So we'll get into it and spend the next 10 minutes talking about that horrible team from North London. But yeah, it's going to be.
We're not going to get through it all in 10 minutes.
No,
we're dreading it. There's too much to go through. Are you looking just on you working from home? By the way, my partner's having to work from home next week because there's a yellow weather warning for the heat, but like that's up here, so I'd imagine down by where you are.
It's 40 in London on Tuesday, so I'm going to swerve that. I think
it's mad, that isn't it?
It's been tough this week, and it's been mid-20s, nearly 30. So yeah, it's unworkable. Yeah, definitely on the tube, it's a killer.
Yeah, it's going to be wild. It's going to be wild, isn't it, man? That's mad. It's mad because I was having this conversation with someone new. It's a different sun abroad, though. Do you know what I mean? There's something in it. I think there's something.
No, for real, it's true. I agree with you.
Yeah, I do. I think so too. We will talk West Ham. We'll talk a little Leeds as well in a little bit. But looks like my Wi-Fi's dropped. Bear with us, folks. But while I sort that out, let me just introduce Matt. First of all, Matt, how have you been? I haven't spoken to you on here for a while, and you must be buzzing with Spurs. And I'll just let you waffle on Spurs for a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's been a while since I've been here. It's been a while. I miss it. I miss your faces. No, it's good to be back. It's good to be back, and especially with some good news as well. To be honest, it's it's a lot of Tottenham fans are saying, this is a Tottenham that we haven't seen before. We've never seen Tottenham work like this in the window. I can't ever remember seeing any Premier League team work like this in the window. We two signings wrapped up before the window was even open. We're on the 15th of July and we're about to complete our 6th signing. And it's not like it's just, like we were saying there beforehand, we brought in Tyrell Ashcroft and Josh Keeley as well for the development squad. But there are 6 first team signings. There's 6 signings that are improving parts of our team that needed to be improved. We're adding depth in every department, and it's unseen. And I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to win the league next season, because we're not. We're still nowhere near Manchester City and Liverpool, but we're going to be such a better team next season. Considering we got into the Champions League with what we had, improvement everywhere, it's going to be a very, very exciting season for Tottenham. And to be honest, I can kind of see every single one of those signings settling in and having a good season as well.
Yeah, just on the general chat that I've been seeing, because I do watch and listen to a lot of content. I know obviously you temper your expectations a little bit, Matt. And I remember, we asked you about top 4, and you were saying it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen right until the end. There's a lot of talk that people think you could push City and Liverpool. What do you say to that?
Look, I always say, and maybe a bit kind of hypocritical with how I didn't expect us to get top 4 under Conte, that if you're not going to be ambitious and if you're not going to hope for the best, kind of what's really the point of supporting a football team? So look, I respect it, and I get it. Like, you kind of have to have that excitement. And again, when you're seeing the business that we're doing, it's so astute. Like, we're not going out and spending 60-70 million on loads of different players. We're getting business in a way that it's a sustainable business model. You can see us doing it again in January and again in next summer. So I can see where that excitement is coming from. But for me, City and Liverpool are just 2 teams that are so gelled, and they know what they're doing. And maybe there's going to be a bit of upheaval at City this summer, bringing in Phillips and Haaland, then losing Sterling, losing Jesus, potentially losing Bernardo Silva now to the very wealthy Barcelona. So there could be a little something going on there. And with Liverpool, they had that really poor season last season when they just got in the top 4. Then went back this season to pushing City all the way. So there is an element of unpredictability about next season, but I can sit here confidently and say we're going to be near them, because I can see that 2 of them getting close to 100 points again next season. For Tottenham, I can't really see us hitting that. But I do think, like you said with Chelsea, I think we could be in that middle ground now between that top two and then everybody else. We could be comfortably third, which could allow us to maybe push for an FA Cup or push for a decent run in the Champions League as well. But if you're a Spurs fan and you're looking for the title, I absolutely respect it. And goddamn, I hope you're right. But yeah, I won't be looking at that just yet.
No, Corey, I know my Wi-Fi is really bad at the minute. I don't know if you can hear me or what, but what do you think to those? I know, obviously, if you try to take that rivalry aside out of it, do you think they can push them? Because I don't think they're going to get anywhere close. That's just my opinion. I just think them two teams are in a different stratosphere.
Yeah, in terms of the title, I don't think... Again, I'd love to discredit them, but I don't think they'll be anywhere near it, to be honest. I just think that's because of the level that Man City and Liverpool have set. I think, having said that, Tottenham will be very competitive for third place. I just think the business that they've done, the manager that they've got, you even look at the forward options. I'm sure we'll talk about James Maddison at some point, but the fact that they are happy to bring in quality in depth, particularly in forward positions where you may argue they already had a strong front three, would say to me that they are going to kick on next season, unfortunately. And to be fair, if you're a Spurs fan, you're probably crying out for this, not just over the past couple of seasons, but because you have Antonio Conte. And that's, albeit these are great signings, don't get me wrong, that is the big leveler. When you've got someone of that ilk, you are going to push other teams around you. And I think Chelsea are probably feeling a little bit of pressure as such because they know that Spurs can kind of reach to that level. And I think that's why you're seeing them being a lot more proactive in the last couple of days or so, because Tuchel will know he's got to buck his ideas up. And that sounds mad for me to say because he's won a Champions League, but I just think the quality of the Prem next season and some of the signings means that they're really going to have to kick on. But yeah, as we've already touched on, I think Spurs' business has been really solid so far.
You're muted, Joe.
Are you all right, Joe?
I'm muted. Honestly, man. My Wi-Fi, the connection, it's dodgy, man. It's dodgy. Sorry about this, folks. I had an issue earlier as well. I don't know what's going on with it. But Smudge said, afternoon, Joe and gentlemen, my tip Spurs to pressure City and Liverpool. There you go. It's not just Smudge as well. I've seen it from an awful lot of people and I keep hearing it. Someone's just said, I thought Just Joe collapsed then for a second. I had a stroke live on stream. I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi. I am going to switch it round. So while you're answering this question, Matt, if I do drop out, right, just continue with the question. But I want to ask you, who's... Let me just quickly get the names up on who you have brought in. Just bear me one sec. So we've got Perisic, Forster, Bissouma, Richarlison, and Clement Longley. Who would be who's the best out of that bunch, do you think? Who's going to have the biggest impact?
That's a big question. I would go with Perisic, to be honest. First of all, Perisic is such an underrated deal, I think. I mean, to get him in for free, a lot of people are giving out that he's 33 years of age and he's past his best and this and that. His minutes played, fitness stats, all that stuff last season were the best of his career. He registered, I think, the second fastest speed in the Serie A of any player last year. So that whole idea of him, the age, it's really not an issue. But both positions of wing back is where we really lacked last season in having that creativity. I know Reguilon kind of in the second half of the season, he was better. He got that goal against Leeds. He scored against Everton as well. But there's so many opportunities, even when Sessegnon came into the team later in the season, where you expect them to pull the trigger, or you want them to be clinical. You want them to play that right ball in the last minute. They didn't quite have that. Perisic is that perfect player coming in to do that. He's quick, he's powerful, he's dynamic. He has, of course, the history as a winger, so he knows how to play further on the front foot. He has a little bit of what I think makes Son such a fantastic player, in that he can play off both feet. And if Son is squaring you up on the edge of the box, you don't know what way he's going to go. It's the same with Perisic. He's as strong as he is on his left foot as he is on his right foot. And I think that's really, really important to us. And I don't necessarily think he's our best signing. Bissouma, as Tom mentions there, is very, very good signing. But I don't think we were lacking enough in midfield last season to say that he's going to have such an impact that he would improve us more than Perisic. So I think Perisic is probably the biggest improvement, and because of that, will have the biggest impact. But Bissouma, adding depth and competition in that midfield is massive. Richarlison, how long have we been crying out for a backup to Harry Kane? We've had Soldado, Janssen, Vinicius, Troy Parrott even tried to do it for a bit. Dane Scarlett coming on in Europa League games. Having Richarlison in that versatility as well to play anywhere across that front line is huge. Forster, competent backup to Lloris for the first time in a couple of years after Joe Hart and Galini. Longley is a stopgap. And I think that's beautiful. You know, we went out, we were looking for Bastoni, we wanted Josko Vardiol from Leipzig, we were in for Pau Torres for a bit as well. And it looked as though none of those would happen this summer. And what Tottenham have done is we've gotten Clement Longley on a 1-year loan deal with no option to buy. And it's because next season we think we can get one of those centre-backs. Bastoni will be into the last year of his contract. We're hoping that we can pluck someone like him next season. So we're not like in the past the way we settled for those second options. We're waiting for the actual good one. And Longley, as a backup option or as a stopgap, is fantastic as well. You know, incredible ability on the ball, and that's going to be a massive improvement in left centre back because we haven't quite had that with Ben Davis in last season. Davis was incredible last season, massive player for us, but Longley just has that bit more on the ball, and that's the best thing is that you can see how every single one of those signings improves us, and you can see why we've made every one of those signings. Again, never said that about Spurs, never. You know, I'm used to us spending £15 million on Jack Clarke. No, I love Jack Clarke, but
we did you over with that, didn't we, man? I tell you that much. We had a right steal with that one. Has to be said. Is he gone permanent to Sunderland now?
Yeah, I think 10 million.
How much did he go for?
10 million, I think. Which, I mean, fantastic to recoup that. He just did so well with Sunderland last season that we got a nice bit of it back.
Sunderland have got 10 million in the coffers. Where's that come from?
Apparently. Or maybe it's their playoff money or something.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully my Wi-Fi's sorted now. Can you see me? Am I all right? Am I moving?
You're crystal clear, Joe.
You're all right.
That's good. Hopefully it's sorted, honestly. So my fantasy Premier League pick of putting Perisic in the defence is going to work wonders then, is it, Matt?
100%. 5.5 million as a defender for Perisic is exactly what we all wanted. Get him in. You have to as well, Corey.
It's great. Would you go along with him, Corey, in terms of he's the biggest, or would you maybe say Basuma?
I think Matt will know more than me. I think probably it's been a little bit of an issue for quite a while, but I would have just said Basuma just because I rate him so highly as a player. And I think if Spurs are going to play a midfield too, you need someone that's comfortable under pressure. Again, kind of tenacious enough to go and win the ball as well, give a bit of security to who's next to him. I actually think Spurs, in terms of midfield two options now, aren't looking that bad. And I probably would have said a year ago it was a bit suspect, but I think Bentancur, Basuma, Højbjerg, there's enough strength in depth there and to kind of hold it down a little bit. And look, we discussed it. We talked about it on the WhatsApp group, but again, someone like James Maddison doesn't automatically seem like a fit. You kind of go, oh, well, where would he fit? Spurs play 3-4-3, but they kind of get this inclination with Tottenham that they are looking at 3-4-1-2, and they're looking at a 10 somewhere. And that's a completely different dynamic. That's what I hate about Spurs probably next season, is the fact that Conte will have so many options tactically as well to play with. And I think that's where they're going to be competing in the top four. But Basuma, I think Basuma's a steal. 25 million is ridiculous for us.
Yeah, it really is. It's great business. And listen, I don't mind Spurs. I hope they go all right. You know what I mean? I hope they do. And I love. How can you not love Son? Do you know what I mean? How can you not love Son? Really,
don't get me started, mate. Just move on.
Obviously, Matt, I seen just before coming on as well that are you not back in for Gvardiol? Is that because Gvardiol's known to Leeds United fans because we were close to signing him and he wanted to stay put. Was it Leipzig or it was Leipzig or Salzburg? Which one was it?
He's at Leipzig now.
Where was he at the season before?
Dinamo Zagreb.
Zagreb, okay. Yeah. So it was between him and White, I think. Or it might, no, it'd have been Koch. It'd have been Robin Koch. So it was after Ben White had gone and he opted. Has he only been at Leipzig for the season?
He signed 2 years ago, but he went back to Zagreb on loan for the first season.
Right.
And then,
Yeah. Okay. And Leeds wanted him to stay, etc. Yeah, I remember it. And obviously he's just gone up another level. There's so many players Leeds United get linked with. Charles de Ketelaere's one as well, that if we miss out on them, they'll just hit another level and you think, oh, imagine if we'd have actually managed to get him.
Yeah.
You know, and I think Gvardiol's that good. Is there not a chance you could go back in there for him? Because I've seen it earlier, bro, my notifications that there was still a chance, or is that not happening?
There was, I saw a report on Twitter. I was actually streaming myself at 7. When I finished that, I saw something on Twitter. It was an exclusive from one of these useless, I actually have it here, Ekram Koner. Who That's
him. I've got him on notifications.
He's as reliable as a chocolate teapot.
Yeah, he's not had a great hit rate, has he? I've noticed.
He said we're still looking for another centre back. Targets are Torres, Vardiol, and Rodrigo Becao. Who they even play with? Is that Parma, Udinese, or something? Yeah, the thing with Vardiol is he's going to cost us 80-90 million to get that done this summer, because he signed a long-term contract when he came in from Zagreb. He's just had his first season at Leipzig. Of course, they're back in the Champions League as well. But the big thing, and it's the World Cup in December, is messing up a lot of plans. He doesn't want to leave Leipzig and move to a new league and to a new team and try and fight for his position. He wants the game time with Leipzig, so he's a shoo-in for that World Cup with Croatia in the winter. And to be honest, I think he will be a shoo-in anyway, but he doesn't seem willing to make that risk. Leipzig don't want to let him go because he's just an absolutely incredible player. Now, look, Tottenham ideally would bring in another centre-back. You know, we're not done our business yet. We're going to get Spence. We're going to get a number 10. We're still in the market for potentially another striker and another centre-back. So in an ideal world, we would do that, but it's not top of the priority list because we're happy with what we have now. We're willing to wait that year to get something in. So look, if this Milan Skriniar to PSG move falls through and Bastoni's in the market, we will move for that. If Leipzig, for whatever reason, decide they're happy to sell Vardiol, we will move for that. But there's certainly nothing imminent, and if that opportunity comes, we'll go for it. But I can't imagine we'd be pushing too hard for it at this point in time.
It's like you're a totally different guy now. It's like you're a totally different guy. It's mad how quick football can change your mood and everything, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like Conte's come in, and if you think back to last season where there was chat that would he even seen the season out and stuff, you know, when he was talking a madness in his press conferences and stuff, and then now, you know, they have backed him. You have to say that about Levy, mate. I know Enick or whatever his name is. I know you just give him a lot of stick, but are you happy right now?
I'm over the moon.
Yeah,
I'm over, like, this isn't the football club that I've been supporting for the last what 12, 14 years. Like this genuinely feels like a FIFA career mode or something. And I did a stream. I did a video a few 2 months ago at this point. So Michael Bridge from Sky Sports, and I recorded the video. It was like early one afternoon. He was saying, you know, from what he had heard, we were going to back Conte and we were willing to do that. And I was kind of still a bit iffy about it. Then 2 hours later, we get an announcement from the club that they've invested £150 million in cash to our transfer window. And just from them, it has been endless. You know, the best thing about it is, aside from this Spence deal, everything has been done quickly. Like there was nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing on Basuma. On the Tuesday, we found out a deal was agreed, and by Friday, he was holding up the jersey. You know, where Charleston maybe dragged on for a little bit long as well, but the majority of the deals have been done really, really quickly, and they're all ones, like I said earlier, that you can see exactly that Conte is the man who wants them. You know, Perisic, obviously, he played with him in the past, but every player fits a Conte system so perfectly that you can see. I think, again, the Spence one is an outlier in everything because Daniel Levy has been leading the negotiations on that one. And it seems as though he's a player that was identified by Levy and he kind of convinced Conte on it. But everyone else, it just is Conte signings. And with Pochettino, one of the biggest things that we always had was he picked out these players. You know, he had his own scouting team, whatever. He picked out the players, Levy negotiated, he penny pinched, and then he went for the B-Tech option. So there was, you know, I'm sure when we got Jack Clark, there would have been a ready-made winger that we were going for. Or the year we got Lo Celso, we were trying to get Bruno Fernandes, and we were very close to getting Bruno Fernandes. That fell through, and we ended up with Lo Celso. So we've always been going for that cheaper, kind of lesser option. But with Conte, the best thing about Conte as well is he's not a massive spender. He doesn't need, like I said, that 60, 70 million pound player every time. He's happy with Perisic on a free, and he's happy with a Clement Longley on loan. So I suppose it is easier to back him, but they haven't faltered once in their backing of him this window. And it's crazy because that's just not Tottenham. And
do you have to win something this year, Matt?
That's what I was just going to say. I do kind of fear that if we don't win something, Conte goes next summer, the club are like, well, we backed him. We gave the best manager we've ever had exactly what he wanted, and it still didn't work out for us. There's kind of a few different factors in that because Tottenham do have an option to extend Conte's contract by a further year at the end of this season. But I think there could be something in there that we have to qualify for the Champions League again, or we have to do something for that option to come into play. So I think that plays a part. I think they're looking to sell. I think the way things are going, with the way we've invested in so much off the pitch in the last couple of years, in the training ground, in the stadium, you know, investing in different markets we're massive in the USA at the moment. We're obviously massive in Asia with Sun as well. I do feel like they are shaping up to sell. So I don't know how long this will continue, how long they'll back the manager. They could do it for 1 or 2 years and then take the foot off the gas and wait for someone to come in and buy. So I think there are loads of different factors at the moment kind of in play as to how long this will actually last for Spurs. But for now, I'm just enjoying the moment. I'm happy to see it happening and just waiting for that Djed Spence announcement, and then we'll move on to number 7.
It'd be interesting to see. I was going to ask you, but you sort of answered it. But it'd be interesting to see how Djed Spence gets on, if he can make that step up straight away, and it's seamless. Corey, how do you fancy Tottenham's chances in the Champions League? Do you think they've done enough to get to the knockout stages? You'd imagine English clubs normally do well.
Yeah, I know Conte's track record isn't great in the Champions League from what I understand, but I would expect Tottenham, and again, I'm not sure obviously what group that they're in. I'd expect them to get to the knockout stages. I don't anticipate them to have a long European run. I think where Spurs really need to show progression is the FA Cup and but the Carabao Cup. It's not easy to win these cup competitions when you've got to play the likes of a Chelsea, a Liverpool, Man City. So I think it would be unfair to say they have to win an FA Cup. But for Conte, I think he needs to show some kind of accolade. And Spurs, Matt will tell you more than anyone, probably need a major domestic trophy to kind of capitalise on. So I think it's interesting you actually say that, because I would say from the outset, if Spurs finish third, that's a very good season given how they've progressed in such a short space of time. But because of Conte, because of the money, maybe they do have to go and win one of those trophies.
I'm just laughing at Matt's comment. That's brilliant. Breathing is for cowards. I love that. Great stuff.
Joe, on the point of a trophy, I was actually watching on Sky Sports yesterday. They played a replay of the 2008 League Cup final when we beat Chelsea. Obviously the last trophy that we've won, and I was sitting there and I was genuinely thinking, will I ever see Tottenham win a trophy? Like I know surely in hopefully the 50, 60 years I've left on this planet that surely we'll win something then, but it just seems like such a far-fetched thing right now. And look, on paper we're shaping up really well to really fight for domestic cup next season. And I've said it a bit that I think City will go all out for the Champions League. I think Liverpool will go all out to try and get that Premier League back again. I think there could be a gap there for us to push and maybe even win both domestic cups. I'm not expecting that, but
slow down.
Yeah, no.
Leeds have got Carabao Cup written on it, man. I'm telling you.
You got relegation written. I think there is every opposition fan uses it as a dig, but I still have that feeling. But we're Spurs. Like, how can we win a trophy? Like, there really is that mentality for me anyway. And I know it is I wouldn't say all of the fan base, but a lot of the fan base that it just doesn't seem realistic for Tottenham to win a trophy. But it's Conte. It's Conte being backed. It's a fantastic squad that we have. There was a lot towards the end of last season. Conte actually said it in an interview once after a game. He said, with 10 minutes to go, I looked at my bench to see what I could change. And then I just looked back at the pitch. Because, all he had on the bench was Pierluigi Gallini and a 14-year-old. There was nothing that he could really do. Whereas now, the way we're building the squad is we've had that 11 that got us into the we had that 11 that got us into the Champions League, and we've improved that starting 11, and those players that were good enough to get us top 4 are now our squad depth. So I think it's a really clever way that we kind of rotated that squad. So I feel like something has to happen, but I suppose my heart is saying that something has to happen. My head is saying we're Spurs. Yeah. Is it really going to happen? So
we can all relate. It's that top 6 mentality, innit? If I could have a day out at Wembley and win a Carabao Cup, honestly, I'd be buzzing. Winning the championship, and that's good, but it's not right at the top of the tree, is it? It's like Corey with the European nights and that. We were saying
it's different.
You take the conference.
When people talk about that, and they'll talk about, would you take a top 4 finish? And as a club like West Ham, to be in the Champions League would just be nuts. But if you said to me West Ham could next year go and win the FA Cup, I'd be all over it. Because that's really, I suppose, when you're not at that end of winning trophies regularly, that's where you go, do you know what?
This is the discussion we used to have with Locks all the time, wasn't it?
And he hates it because he's won the Prem and he's won the FA Cup. And now
exactly.
He's spoiled.
Exactly. That's what it all comes down to, being spoiled, for sure. Just before we finish up on Spurs, mate, Leeds United are after a left-back, and everyone keeps saying, why don't we just go for Reguilon? What's the situation there? Is he available on loan? Where is he going? Is he going back to Seville? What's the crack?
Give us 15 quid and you can have him. No, Reguilon he's such an enigma, because I think when Conte came in November, everybody looked at him and thought, well, he's going to flourish. Like he is. I had Fabrizio Romano on my stream one time. Obviously, he knows everything about football. He even said he thinks Reguilon could become one of the best left backs in the world under Conte. It seemed to be that perfect fit, but for whatever reason, it just hasn't clicked. Nothing has really happened, and we're kind of sitting here now kind of want Reguilon to go, and it's annoying because he is such a passionate player. Remember that winner we scored at the King Power Stadium? He was on the pitch celebrating before it ever went in. You know, he is that type of character. But Sessegnon and Perisic are ahead of him in the pecking order. Sevilla are the team that seem to be pushing the hardest, but his wages could be an issue for them.
Yeah.
I kind of see him going back to Spain, but if you want him, like I said, 15 quid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the club do. It's just something that was mentioned among fans, really, and I think it'd be decent. But yeah, we don't seem to be moving in them circles. Big up to everyone in the chat. Please do follow Matt and Corey's channels as well. We will talk West Ham. I seen Harmony say something earlier as well about your Scamacca video. What's the situation with West Ham, mate? I mean, I'm looking. You've got the centre back, isn't it, Olga? Is that how you say it?
Djed, but yeah.
Djed, yeah.
I mean, mate, I can't pretend I'm not French speaking.
Yeah. They're good. Flynn Downs. Yep. I was actually watching something the other day, mate, a transfer stream, and it had a West Ham fan on it, actually, and he was taking a bit of a ribbing about the signing of Flynn Downs because there's a lot more other midfielders that are ahead of him in the Championship. So why was it like West Ham had gone for Flynn Downs when you've got like a Lewis O'Brien available at Huddersfield and whatnot? What do you make to that? Is it because the West Ham fan said he's the new Mark Noble?
Yeah.
So I was like,
it's tongue in cheek.
He had his granddad's scarf, didn't he?
Yeah, it is tongue in cheek. Like when I spoke about it, the signing, I said it's novel. As a fan, of course, I love it. The fact that he's a fan of the club. I do think he's got ability, and I know I've only seen glimpses of him, and it's really, really difficult, to be honest, to have a judgment. And maybe if I watch Championship football, I could talk about a Lewis O'Brien, but I think actually his fit for this team is slightly different to what we've already got. I think he can play that 6. Again, he can win his duels, which is important, but the passing accuracy, keeping the ball, again, playing through the lines, is different. And he's 23 years of age. He will grow into this team. And I think people, and in particular me and probably David Moyes, like the idea that he's in and around someone like a Declan Rice, because I think as a playing style, he will accommodate him. He will allow him to move further forward. The one thing West Ham were poor at last season, and the one thing I wish we could get to grips with, is controlling games with possession. I think that's key. And Souček, as good as he is in making those runs into the box and as fantastic and as disciplined he can be alongside Declan Rice, do need someone that can keep the ball well. And I think Flynn Downs has got that. But I like the signing. I'm not going to band it around. And of course, I think we're linked with Onana from Lille, and that would be more 30 million, 35 million, and that would be
so. Do they want 50 million for him though, Corey? This is what I was hearing, and they were like, "No, not a chance." Is that the situation?
I heard they want 40 million euros, and I think it's got to a point where we've bid. The second bid's gone in. I think it was like 30 million, and there's kind of talk that maybe his agent could move him on. And I kind of, in my back of my head, I'm thinking, well, we've got Issa Diop possibly going out the door. Fulham are offering nearly 20 million with a year left on the deal, which, to be honest, I can't even believe we could get through. And in which case I'd say, well, why don't we offer a 35 mil, and that might do it, and the player might want to join. But this is what I'm saying. That's why with the Flynn Downs thing, a whole business doesn't pin on him being an absolute success. He's actually probably got a bit of time to grow. And if we can get 2 midfielders in like that, Souček can have a rest. He can be rotated. We can get him back to what he was when he first come to the club. So I still think it's positive. And like we said last week, there is a lot of business to do. And things like Armania Broja going on a Chelsea tour, and I see him with a protective boot, and that's going to drag. And Scamacca might go to PSG as well. So there is a long way to go. But I do feel a little bit more positive about the striker situation, because we've got 2 clear targets, both of whom in terms of profile fit the way we play, but also offer something different. I think they're probably a little bit more clinical than Antonio. So I think we're going in the right direction, but like I say, trying to get those deals through the door. We're waiting on Chelsea to sign another number 9 or an inside forward. Scamacca, Sassuolo don't have to sell either. So it's fine. But I'd be dreaming if West Ham could have 2 fit senior strikers against Man City. That would be unprecedented in 18 months. So fingers crossed. I just had a look there. There's 22 days. Do you play on the 6th? 7th.
On the Saturday? 7th,
at home to Man City.
Oh, yeah. So you've got 23 days, mate. Do you think you'll have that new striker in? But I know it's... When does the window end? Is it the end of August or...
1st of September.
1st of September. So do you think you'll have your new striker for the start of the season, or will it look largely exactly the same, bro? Because I think about will this French centre back start? Do you think, or will it? Because I look at Moyes and I think he likes a little bit of like continuity first, and he'll probably put them in dribs and drabs. We've seen what happened with Ben Rama. You know what I mean? Do you think it'll just be the same 11 again?
I don't think he fancied Ben Rama. I still to this day don't think Ben Rama was his signing. So and us other West Ham fans probably look at him and don't think that he trusts him even now. I think the thing with the Djed is it happened for West Ham and for David Moyes to pay that money and be happy to sign it off. To me, indicates that he's more than happy for him to start. And I think as good as Dawson, obviously Bonner's just come back from injury, good as they've been, he's a natural starter. I know what you mean. The only one that would for me would be on the edge would be Antonio. If we brought in Scamacca, I don't think he'd automatically come in, which would be a problem from his point of view as a player because he wants to play regularly. And maybe Fabianski. But I think it's now time for Areola to start, to be honest. I think that's a fair shout. But Moyes will invariably give him a little bit of time. But I just think with things like that, with certain signings, if he's that dead set on them, then he'll bring him in if they show the quality. So
are you concerned about finishing them European spots, mate, already? Just looking at how well a lot of other clubs' business is going. You've got to be worried, right? Because I think as well, I know Leicester haven't brought anyone in, but I think they'll be better this season. You know, I look at Newcastle, I think they'll do well. I think the way they're going about their business, I think is great. We'll talk a little bit about them and the chase of Jack Harrison later. But are you worried if you don't do some new left back, striker, you know, some more bodies in there that you will struggle with having European football? Because I think he'll go all out for that conference, eh?
Yeah, 100. I think we'll go all out for everything. Everything to me indicates with some of the targets we've been linked to that, and it sounds quite trivial. People, me going, "Oh, we've got 4 centre midfielders that we can play," but we actually haven't had that for a long time, or at least workable options. I don't think we'll be that far off it, to be honest. I even would say that if West Ham can get Onana in, or Broja or Scamacca, a left back, for example, maybe a Lingard comes through the door, I still think we'll be there and thereabouts because I think it's improvement on what we've already got. We finally negate that whole problem of fatigue, and I get to see a David Moyes team where he actually trusts who he's going to bring on and we can rotate regularly. But I agree with you. I think when you were talking about West Ham last season towards the beginning, punching above the weight and top 4, I think that's a step too far. But I would expect us, if we can get that business done, to go far as we can in the cup competitions and hopefully compete for a Europa League space. But it's about depth. I do still think we're good enough, and these are genuine improvements. These aren't fillers. Even if Flynn Downs isn't a filler, he will play. So I think we'll be all right. And hopefully we get a decision on Lingard next week because it's dragging. It's dragging.
That guy, man. If he goes to DC or wherever, I think it's a madness at that stage of his career.
Yeah,
it's mad. Yeah, it just brings back to me because what happened is I always disliked Lingard. Right, I don't know him personally. I always disliked him. I just seen him doing all these dances and that at Man United, and obviously I don't like Man United, so it's like this. Then he went to West Ham and he's a baller, and I could appreciate him, and I was actually, this boy is decent. And then for him to leave and not come back, and obviously there was the Newcastle stuff and whatnot, and he's probably on a mad amount of money at Man United, and sometimes we need to remember that, why they're going to leave and go. But now he's on a free. It's like, what are you doing? Like, stay in the Premier League. Perform at West Ham. You could even get back in the England cell. Do not go to the MLS. If you go to the MLS, it just reconfirms what everyone first thought about you. Do you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing?
That's the problem, and I think you only really you've touched on it. But imagine if he plays for your club and you see him in that form, and you actually see he's actually a really good football player. I think he stays in the Prem. I think that's what he wants to do, but it's frustrating in a way because I appreciate he's a free agent. He can take his time. He can pick. I do find it slightly odd that he's taking this much time, and probably since he's been at Manchester United, to not make a clear decision. But it would be obvious just to join West Ham. It would, like from a football perspective, even from money. He's talking about 180k a week, which is completely excessive. But he would get paid what he got paid at Manchester United, and there's no doubt in my mind, as much as I would love to see Pablo Fornals in the 10, that Lingard would start in the 10 probably every week under David Moyes. So, but I don't care. Let's just get it done next week. He says yes or no, and we move on because I can't keep doing this. Like, even I've checked out. Really, kind of the excitement will be more relief if he joins. So.
Yeah, I know what you mean. These transfer sagas. Leeds United have had it. Obviously, with Rafinha. Rafinha finally got his move to Barcelona. Although we have stuck a little a little clause in there that says if they don't pay the upfront fee by this date, that they have to pay additional. They've had to have that written into the contract, which is a madness because Barcelona are on a madness. So they had booked the parade, where they do the skills at the new camp and that.
Yeah.
They booked all that in even before the final bits of paperwork were actually signed off. They're absolutely off their head, man. Like, it's insane, that football club.
I'm hearing stuff. I'm hearing stuff about Bernardo Silva going there. I literally cannot.
80 million. 80 million.
I don't know how. Like, I don't know how they're doing it. Like, it's mad. But it's proper mad for Leeds because it was that frustrating that I couldn't wait to see the back of him. Yet he's been the best player we've had in generations. Do you know what I mean? But I'm just glad he's out of the door. Do one. Do you know what I mean? But now he's got. I hope he does great, and I hope he wins it. But I just can't stand Barcelona. I used to didn't mind them, but now I can't stand them. It is what it is. I think everyone in football's getting that axe. It's not just us. They were affecting everybody else. A club they still seem to be affecting is, of course, Man United. They're still chasing Frankie de Jong. But they've actually started to get some deals done now, Manchester United, obviously. Lisandro Martinez looks like that's a done deal. They've brought in that Malacia, obviously, and Christian Erickson as well. Christian Ericsson's... I was saying they need to be going down a different route, getting young players in, etc. But we know how good Christian Erickson is. It'll be interesting to see how him and Bruno Fernandes connect. Obviously, it looks like Ronaldo still might be there. I can't see it, but it doesn't look like there's any moves for him. Matt, what are your thoughts on Man United? Because I think we're all taking. I expected it to move really quickly, and it hasn't. Do you know what I mean? It's taken a while to actually get deals over the line.
Yeah, it has, but I think the good thing about it is you can see their Ten Hag signings. And I'd say the same about Leeds, the way like the players you're bringing in, like Brendan Aronson, you can tell that's a Jesse Marsh signing. Is there another American or another Salzburg player that you bought that you can tell?
They're all there. If they're not American, they're from Red Bull Network.
Well, look, there we go. You can see that they're Marsh signings with Ten Hag bringing in Malacia from Feyenoord. He's obviously a player that he would have known well from the Eredivisie, with Lisandro Martinez bringing him in from Ajax. Same with Christian Erickson. He was training with Ajax and Ten Hag before he made that move to Brentford. So look, it has taken a bit longer than expected, but they're getting him in before the season starts. And I do think that's the crucial thing. Christian Erickson, I wish I could sit here and say it's an awful signing and he's terrible and he's past his best, but he's such an incredible footballer. And I'm not salty, but I'm really salty about it. And I kind of wish he had gone elsewhere, but look, he's going to be fantastic for United. He's not going to be the player who plays all game, every game. I don't know how they fit him and Bruno Fernandes into the team together. I think maybe Erickson, as he pushes on in age, he might drop into a deeper position and maybe be kind of a deeper lying playmaker, but he's never had that defensive ability. So as a kind of more balanced midfielder, I'm not sure how he would fit in there, but it's a brilliant signing nonetheless. And as for Martinez, I can see the concerns that are there. I had it, and Chelsea fans had it last year when Jules Koundé was being linked a lot. Koundé, brilliant aerial stats in La Liga, but coming into the Premier League at 5'9", the same height as Lisandro Martinez, you can do brilliantly defensively in other leagues, winning headers all over the place, but you don't have a Chris Wood in the Eredivisie. You don't have a Haaland. You don't have players of like strikers who are just there to hurt you. And I would wonder how Martinez might adapt to that, but left-footed centre backs. Actually,
like that. No, it's true though. It is Barnes and all them folk, man.
But you say that's such an interesting point, because when we played Sevilla and Koundé was up against Antonio, it gave him problems. Like, it is. I know it's a different type of battle, but you're even talking about open play. Look at set pieces. That's a problem as well. There's some units, particularly at centre back. So yeah, it's probably no doubt a decent
player. Where does he play for you? Because he's got all this versatility. Like, I was hearing Arsenal fans, because they were after him, they were saying, he'll play at left back because, your man Tierney's always injured, or you can play in the DM, he'll play at centre back. My mate's a Man United fan, and he was like, maybe that's the end for Maguire. And I was like, well, no, it can't be, because they've just confirmed Maguire's going to be captain. So he's not, Corey, where's he going to play? Will he play in the DM? They need one. Could he play there for Man United?
That's what I think. I can't profess to have watched Martinez too many times, but just from the business, it doesn't feel like they've been really linked with a defensive midfielder, and it would make more sense for that to be the number 6, if I'm honest. And he's got the versatility to fall back on being a left-sided centre-back if Ten Hag wants to use him. But the balance of that Manchester United midfield, I can't quite understand it. I know they've played 4-2-3-1 in pre-season, but I'd kind of, in my head, envisaged him going to 4-3-3. And in which case, if you've got a 3-man midfield, I can't picture it. You've got Erickson that plays the 10, but like Matt says, obviously played at times deeper for Brentford last season. De Jong, is De Jong a 6 or an 8? It's kind of like... So I think Martinez, if he did come in, that's probably looking at him in the DM, but I could be well off. He might come in and come in at left back. So
yeah,
for me, I think he has to be a left centre back. You know, like left-footed, left-sided centre backs are in such demand at the moment, and there's so few out there that if you're going to take one of the best in the world, you kind of have to play him there. And I feel like United do need that, because with their defence, I know obviously a lot of left-sided centre backs are right-footed, but they need that defence that they have in the last couple of years. It's never felt natural. And it might be a weird way to say, but there always seems to be somebody out of place. If it's Phil Jones on the left, or if it's Harry Maguire on the football pitch, there's always someone that's just in a place where they really shouldn't be. And I feel by getting Martinez in and having that kind of natural ball player out there, you know, they can spread the play a little bit more. They can, I don't know, just for me, he has to play back there. Otherwise, you kind of question for him why he'd go to Man United, but also why they bring him in.
So do you think Maguire and Martinez then?
Oh, it really shouldn't be Maguire.
Maguire plays left, though. That's
what I'm saying, but he's made him captain. There's no way he's benching.
I don't know.
Doubt it. I think it's a PR thing.
Should.
I think we said this last week. He's such an expensive signing. They almost can't be seen to take a backward step. Yeah. Although I thought Ten Hag would have been very much, he has to go. But you even look at some of the players that they're playing. Martial's starting in pre-season. Fred McTominay. He's definitely been told he has to work with some of these players. Yeah. It's not a complete clear-out.
Yeah, and we spoke with Corey last week, but what are your thoughts on Ronaldo, mate? Do you think he stays at Man United past the window?
It depends on why he wants to go. All the talk about the kind of family issues and stuff like that, and obviously we know the horrific stuff they've been through over the last few months. If it is genuinely, you know, if his family aren't settled in Manchester, if there's reasons that they personally have to leave, I feel like United have to let him go. And I know he's obviously one of the best players that's ever played. It's a massive PR for the club having him. I'm sure they've invested a lot of money in having him, but if it's personal, I feel like they probably owe that to him to let him go. But the question for me is where he goes. And he's reportedly turned down a £250 million contract offer from Saudi Arabia, which, to be fair, seems like the type of thing he'd do, but he's not going to go back to Juventus. He's not going to go back to Real Madrid. He's obviously not going to go to Barcelona. Inter and AC Milan, will they have enough? The only team for me that he would really fit is probably Bayern Munich, if they let Lewandowski go. But I don't know. I can't see something happening easily.
Lewandowski, not a chance.
No, I mean Lewandowski to Barca and then Ronaldo to.
Oh, okay.
To
don't worry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that for me is
talk of a swap deal at some point with some fans, and I'm thinking, no.
God, no, not at all.
No, not a chance.
That's the only thing I can see making sense, but it's not going to be easy.
I don't think he'd want that sort. I genuinely think he's motivated by personal accolades, and he's had 19 years in the Champions League. He's not going to want Europa League. He wants to keep the top scorer of the Champions League. If he drops out of it, I don't know how far Messi is off. I don't know, but probably not that far. Do you know what I mean? Ronaldo's aware of all these things, man, and he'll look at Man United and say, "You're going nowhere. I can't be going in your Europa League." I was listening to something the other day, like I say, it's not much, but apparently, like, Tuchel doesn't want him, but Bowley does, and there might be a little bit of a standoff there, and, well, ultimately, the owner has the last say. We'll have to wait and see, but I don't know, maybe he could rock up at Chelsea. I may be way wide up. I might be way wide of the mark, but I just don't see him starting against Brighton on the 7th. What about you, Corey? Does he play?
I don't think we've ever seen Ronaldo in a situation where he's being offered to clubs and no one can facilitate. But here's what we're talking about. It's nuts, but it's really who can facilitate Ronaldo within their team in truth. And I think Tuchel's basically come out and said no, because clearly from that front three, it just doesn't work off the ball. Matt said it, Bayern Munich would be the most obvious thing. should they sell Lewandowski? And that would make sense to me. And he could go over there and he probably would score 20 plus goals. And he'd probably be buzzing with that. But the way that it looks now, if it stays as it is, I don't think he moves. I can't see it. No, and I think there'll be a spin on it. I think he put an Instagram post up the other day of him and, you know, training and sort of in the gym. And that kind of indicates to me that he's going, I probably will stay, if I'm honest. But I'm surprised it hasn't been sounded out earlier. I thought literally from the end of the season it would be, right, I'm off, see you later.
See you later, yeah.
100%. State some of those performances last year against Brighton in particular. He's walking around going, I haven't got a clue here. But yeah, I don't think he leaves just because no one really can afford it.
Yeah, I think it's an important point there. Important point you made there, Corey, about him being offered around to teams and no one really seems to be taking him. As much as we talk about PR for clubs, PR for someone like Ronaldo is massive. Like, he obviously he's a footballer, he's a person, but he's a brand. Like, that CR7 is a whole brand thing. And if we end up in a situation where the season starts, he's been offered to Barca, to Real Madrid, to all these teams out there, no one's taking him. I wouldn't call it a bad thing, but like for his own brand, for his own PR, he might have to just go all the way back and say, no, I wanted to stay at United. I had personal stuff I had to deal with when I'm back and I'm ready to go, whatever. He may end up having to very publicly and very definitively commit to Man United just to protect his own brand. And maybe that's what United are holding out for. You know, maybe they realize that if they don't, you know, if they don't play ball with anyone in terms of negotiations, they have that in their power that Ronaldo may have to turn around and just say, no, I'm happy here and I want to stay. And that's probably the biggest obstacle for him at the moment as well.
For sure. We'll have to wait and see. One little rumble on and probably might go to deadline day, that one, I'd imagine. To be honest, we'll have to wait and see. Let's talk just briefly on Leeds United. I've done a lot of it, obviously. There's been talk of Jack Harrison. He keeps getting linked to Newcastle. I first spoke about it on the channel 3 days after the season ends, so around about the 25th of May. People are like, no, not a chance, not a chance. We're now on the 15th of July, and it's still being talked about. Eddie Howe apparently is a massive fan of him. They want Moussa Diaby, but they want 60 million. I like what Newcastle are doing, and they're saying, we're not going to pay that. You know, they're not allowing themselves to be held ransom, Newcastle, which I think is good, because at times Chelsea were, at times City were, Newcastle are not having it, which I think fair play to them. So apparently they want him. Now, I'm not advocating selling him. I don't want him to go. I think he's so underrated within the Leeds United fan base, myself included at times, because I just take him for granted because he's a 7 out of 10 most times, you know what I mean? He got 8 goals last season, second top scorer behind Rafinha, hat-trick against West Ham. I think we can't afford as well to lose Calvin, Rafinha and Jack in the same window. It'd be too much upheaval. But there has to come a point where they put a certain amount of money in that Leeds United probably look at it and say, we paid 11 million for him from City last year. We get X amount. Let's accept it and move on and see if we can replace. Now, Newcastle are saying 20 million. I think that's crazy talk personally. But I just wanted to get your opinion on how much would you value like Jack Harrison? I know you work behind the scenes in stats and whatnot, Matt. So you probably have a more educated answer than what myself and Corey could give. But what do you think it'd be worth?
No, you expect too much of me. I think 20 million is ridiculous. And even if I'm not saying it's the only reason, like Premier League tax alone means that it has to be more than 20 million. And the thing with Harrison is he clearly has a lot of potential, and a lot of people have seen that throughout his career. I mean, to end up at Man City and was he in their sister club in Melbourne or something for a while?
New York
it was. You know, they clearly invested a lot in him and had that hope that he was going to be a world beater. How old is he now? Is he 24?
25. I mean, 25. He played with Lampard and Pirlo in that New York side, so it's not bad, is it?
That's not bad at all. I just want to check how long's left in his contract before I fully answer this. But
2 years, I think.
2 years, 20 million, go away. It obviously depends on how much Newcastle want him and how much they need someone in that position. Obviously, 60 million for Diaby, that's probably off. But I'd go somewhere 30 to 35 for a player of Harrison, especially with the season that he's just had and scoring important goals as well. It wasn't just scoring goals; it was scoring important goals, like that one last day of the season, which effectively confirmed your survival. You know, he's a clutch player. He turns up when it's needed, and I think he would have gone under the radar a lot because of, like you mentioned, Rafinha and Calvin Phillips. You know, kind of being the star players. Now he kind of went under the radar a little bit, but I agree, he's a really good player.
And Spurs were interested as well at left wing back, weren't they, for a little bit?
Yeah, there was talk about it. I'm not sure how genuine it was, but I wouldn't have exactly been against that signing, and I suppose that probably says a lot. And we're obviously the best team in England, and we would have been interested in that.
There's a lot of Leeds fans fancy him for left wing back under Jesse Marsh. He played there in the pre-season on Thursday because Firpo's injured again. So Leeds United are having a dip in the market, but there's a lot saying Jack. What are your thoughts on just Harrison? Obviously, you've seen him score a hat-trick against you, Corey. So.
You're buzzing. You literally blew it out. 8 goals last season, 3 against West Ham. Yeah, I was there, mate. I remember the game. Don't you worry.
Some well-taken goals though in that, to be fair. He's good, man. He's good.
Yeah, I like Jack Harrison. I think the biggest thing about him is that he has been able to chalk up those goals and assists like you're talking about. The only thing I'd say about him, sometimes when I watch him, I feel that he can be inconsistent. When I watch him in that final third, sometimes I think, can he beat his man? Sometimes it doesn't work, but he's dynamic. He carries the ball well. There's definitely a player there. I think when you touch on him at left wing back, that's interesting because I think he's comfortable, obviously, being a winger. But if you're talking about Jesse Marsh, it's quite narrow. Him as a 10, I don't know if that quite works. I think that'll be a dynamic that you'll probably see this season with Leeds in terms of the lack of width and how that's dealt with. But that might mean he might have to change position, which would be... Yeah. I think I completely get it. I think he has that mould of a left wing back, but I kind of feel like it'd also be a little bit wasted because I know 25, he's not getting on, but he's still got years to go and develop and be more consistent. So I think that'd be a bit of a loss. I
think as well, right, and I know people might laugh at this, right, but Jack Harrison's very, very determined. Yeah, very determined. He never has time off. Obviously you follow your players on Instagram or whatnot. Whenever it's the off season, he's always training rock hard. Like he's never not. You know what I mean? He's always got a personal trainer with him. He's always doing bits. He's got. If you look at his stats from Leeds when he came in, every season he's got better and better. And I think he'll have another good season, but. There's a little part of me, he probably thinks, I want England. And I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility. Of course, there's a lot of great players there, but we know Southgate does give opportunities, especially if maybe you went to left back. But my point is, Jack also might not be adverse to the chance of going to Newcastle in terms of they're a club on the up. If we are playing narrow and we're asking him to play at left back, for example, he's going to, I think, they're looking at him on the right instead of Almiron. Almiron got no goals and 1 assist, so you can see why they need to improve in that area. So that might play on his mind. Listen, for the Leeds fans, I'm not advocating him. I don't want him to go, but I think there comes a point for someone like Jack where if Newcastle put 30 million in, I think Leeds will consider it. I do, because it's quite a bit of money, and
don't you think? I know that same sort of logic works for Rafinha and Phillips, because it probably felt as though that they would move on and obviously had to go and build the quality elsewhere. But does it not get to a point maybe where Leeds look at it and say, we have brought in quality in areas that we needed to, but actually we need to kind of consolidate what we already had. True. And Jack Harrison is on that end of a productive player that has been good in the Premier League. So I would just wonder whether they would go, actually, even though it is 30, and maybe down the line he might consider it, that Leeds would go, let's get our business done, let's get our team in order. Because of the injuries last season and the lack of squad depth, it killed you. So I don't think it goes unless it's big money, I guess.
Yeah, no, hopefully not. Smudge, my good friend, says we cannot let Jack Harrison go. Let's not forget 10 goals last year, League and Cup. Also, we need our core now due to 5 sub rule. We need to be buying, not selling. No, I agree with you, and I'm not advocating it at all. I just think it's a decent discussion to have. Let's talk about. I just want to talk about Zinchenko. Obviously, it looks like he might be following Jesus to Arsenal. I really, really rate Zinchenko. I think he could do a job. I'd love him at Leeds. I'd love him. A lot of people left back, but he can also play midfield. I think he plays there for Ukraine. I think he was originally bought as a midfielder, perhaps. It's crazy that City paid I swear it was only 1.5 million for Zinchenko, I think. It's crazy. Corey, what do you think of him? Was he ever linked to West Ham at all?
No, it was. Yeah, no. I think we had some interest in him. To be honest,
Yeah,
I think a lot of West Ham fans would have taken him. It was probably just more of the fact we played 4-2-3-1. It's kind of not really a position like he feels like a number 8 to me, and I guess from an Arsenal perspective with that midfield too, that would kind of fit the mould. I think he's a great player. I do, and I think, to be honest, if he plays consistent game time in midfield, you'll see that a lot more. And I'm not sure what the price is being touted around, but
35, bro. 35. I've just had a look there. They're saying 35.
Yeah. And I think City, it sounds a bit mad, but it is good business in a way for City because you allow him to go. And obviously I think Brighton want 50 million for Cucurella. If you bring Cucurella in, I think that is a genuine improvement at left back defensively. Yeah. So it kind of feels like they've got that balance there. But it's a good signing for Arsenal. I'm surprised, and it's a shame Locks isn't here, that Arsenal haven't gone a little bit further on Yuri Tielemans. Yuri Tielemans is a weird one because he's got a year left of his deal. And he's been touted around and no one's actually really gone for him, where I think there could be a bit of a deal there. And I thought there would have been one for Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm interested to see him not there. I thought he'd have gone to Arsenal as well, Tielemans, to be fair. So it's interesting that he hasn't. But I think Zinchenko's class. The report I'm reading here is Arsenal set to beat Everton target Zinchenko. Surely Zinchenko wouldn't have gone to Everton. I think they're close to signing Cornet, actually, Everton, just on that. Cornet, and they brought Tarkowski in as well. I think Cornet will do well for them. It's just the manager's gash, and they're going to get relegated. So there you go. Just, Matt, give me your thoughts on Arsenal. And I know the whole Rafinha thing as well. I'd like you to have a laugh at that because we've seen, I don't know if you've seen the picture of like Rafinha has it was brilliant. It was like Rafinha's had such a great career, right? And there was the Leeds shirt. Then he was in the Arsenal shirt. Then he was in the Chelsea shirt and then the Barca shirt. And he's had such a great career in the space of like 7 weeks or something, whatever it was. It was brilliant.
Look, Arsenal, the business they have got done, I'm not going to lie, has been good. Yeah, the business they haven't got done has been hilarious. I mean, for them to have these welcome to Arsenal compilations about Rafinha, they had Basuma and the jersey, AFTV saying he was the signing of the summer and all this. They had, of course, Lisandro Martinez they were moving for as well. It has been an odd summer for Arsenal because, again, the business they've got done has been good, but from the kind of maybe not PR side of things, but the whole social media side of things, it's been a bad summer for them. And that could work in their favor because the business they're getting done could go under the radar a little bit because everyone is so focused on the fact that their fans were adamant they'd sign these players, and obviously they hadn't. But Jesus, I said this at the end of the season, Tottenham and Arsenal were linked. For Tottenham, he's an incredible signing. For Arsenal, he is a good to very good signing because we needed a rotation option there. And I'm happy we went for Richarlison instead of Jesus. But for Arsenal, they need a 20-goal-a-season striker, and I just can't see Jesus being that. I really can't. And he's a very good player. He did well for City. It was like 8 goals and 8 assists last season. But I there's nothing about him that makes me think he's going to be the man to come up with a clutch goal every single week. I really cannot.
As the main man, you're not thinking.
But he had chances being the main man at Manchester City, and they ended up just playing players out of position in there instead. Like, when he first went into Man City, when Guardiola first brought him in, he was to replace Aguero. Yeah, and obviously it's a long time ago, and he's developed lots since then. That didn't work out, but I know it's said kind of as a joke, but I think it's relevant that he was a backup striker for a team that didn't have another striker. I really do think that's important. And when you're playing in City, there's going to be chances all over the place. There's so many players creating this for you, and he just was never scoring enough goals to keep him in that first team. And as the main man at Arsenal, it's a very, very different pressure. It's a very, very different environment. And I know, look, they've got a brilliant attack. Their attack is fantastic with Martinelli, with Smith Rowe, with Odegaard, with Saka. And now
Saka's just signed a new deal as well, haven't they? Because they were talking Man City for a while, weren't they? So
that's big for them as well. Of course, Nketiah is signing a new deal. There's a very good attack building there. But Jesus is the main man. And
I'm glad he did it, so he didn't rock up at Leeds.
Fair enough. He seems important to them. But look, the Zinchenko deal is a very good deal. Like you're saying, versatile. He can play in midfield. He can play in left back. He can play in the two of them at the same time with the way Man City play at times. That is a very good deal and a very clever deal. The one thing that's really annoying me, right, is in January when we went back to Juventus and we signed Bentancur and Kulusevski. Arsenal fans were laughing and saying, "Oh, we're panicking, we're giving up. Paratici is going back and getting players from his former club because nothing else is working out." And now they're losing their minds with Arteta going back to Man City and getting Jesus and Zinchenko. So those double standards are really irritating me.
I don't understand it.
It is good business. It is good business.
I've seen Man United fans fume about him going to Ajax. Like you mentioned there, Arsenal fans, some Leeds fans are annoyed that we're getting Red Bull players and Americans. And I'm like, I don't care where they're from. If they're good footballers, that's all that bloody matters.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Corey, do you go along with Smudge here that Jesus is going to explode, or do you agree with Matt?
No, I think he'll have a very good season. I think it's a brilliant signing. Honestly, I think with game time and being, and I know Matt talks about the pressure, but I actually think he'll probably thrive on being the main man. And I kind of feel like with Arsenal, the players behind him, Saka, Smith Rowe, Odegaard, the chances that will be created for him, the type of chances that will be created for him, I think he'll benefit from. I think he's fantastic off the ball. I think take him out of it personally, I actually think Arsenal in terms of pressing from the front with him rather than a Lacazette will be better. I think on the counter they'll be better rather than playing into Lacazette and trying to feed off him like that. I think stylistically it's a very good fit for both, if I'm honest. And I just think it's good business. I think it will. Do you know what I was nearly?
Could he fire them to top 4, bro? Could he fire them to top 4?
Yeah, what Arsenal actually in the top 4?
Yeah,
definitely. I think they're definitely competing for it. 100% they are competing.
It's them, Chelsea, and Man United, I think.
See, I think Man United might be off it, but I could be wrong. I'd have to watch Man United for the first month because, like we said last week, they still have good players there, and Ten Hag is a good coach by all accounts. So that level, it will be competitive though. I think Arsenal. There's a lot of expectation on Arsenal to get into that top 4. Even though the level, the quality is there because of Arteta, because of the money that he spent, because of the level of signings, like you're saying, Zinchenko, Jesus, Saliba coming in. That's what I mean. I think it's a very good team, and it is kind of developing a little bit of depth, but probably need to get a little bit more done.
The only reason Arsenal were anywhere near the top 4 last season is because they had no European football. For that squad to get through that season and to ruin it at the end the way that they did, for them to be playing Thursday, Sunday, and you'd have to expect they're going to get to a respectable stage of the Europa League, whether that's quarterfinal, semi-final. For them to be playing Thursday, Sunday that long through the season, that's going to damage them hugely. And they have a brilliant squad doing good business.
So where do you think they'll end up, Matt?
I think the top 4 is set. I think City, Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea are the top 4.
No, man. Have you heard him now, Billy?
Excuse me.
It's horrible, mate.
Look,
I agree with you.
I'm not wrong though. But
what about
I think Arsenal.
Depay anyway? You've been linked with Depay as well. Sorry, someone's reminded me in the chat.
We were linked early, way earlier. I think it was probably the end of May by a very good source, but things kind of petered out, and I think it's just that Ekram Koner guy again, just spouting for likes. But yeah, I don't think Arsenal or United. Look, they might compete. They might be, kind of putting the pressure on and that sort of stuff. But I can't see them putting in a genuine fight. I
should explain that. That's what I meant. I meant they were competing. I don't think they finished. I think Chelsea finished top 4. I don't think they slip out. I think they're still too good. I know we're talking about Chelsea struggling a bit, but for me personally, I still think they're good. But Arsenal have to be competing for top 4. There's literally it's 5th really for me. Like as a minimum, if you're looking at where Manchester United are, they have to be in that spot.
Yeah. I'm most interested to see what Saliba does, because all I've heard for the past 3 seasons or whatever it is under Arteta is Saliba. He needs to play Saliba. He's got an agenda against Saliba. Why is he not playing Saliba? Forget Ben White. Forget Gabriel Saliba. So I want to see what this guy's about now. I don't know. I don't watch French football. Heard a lot about him. Let's see what he actually does in the Premier League.
He doesn't even want to be there, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Because I was reading the other day that Gabriel was linked to Juventus.
God. Their standards have dropped.
Well, I don't know how does Saliba play like when they've spent 50 million on Ben White, man. They can't drop him. For me anyway, you can't spend 50 million on him and then drop him. You've got Tomiyasu at right back, and then I think Zinchenko you'll see more at left back, just because I think Tierney will be injured all the time. So we'll have to wait and see, I guess. Andy says, did you just say Man United will be fighting for top 4, Joe? That was a joke, right? I said they'll be in the mix, bro. I don't think they will get it. I think the 3 is Spurs, City, Liverpool, and then one of the rest. We'll wait and see. I'm just not convinced with Chelsea, but I may be massively wrong and they might light it up. Let's speak a little bit on Chelsea. Are you still all right for time, boys?
Yeah.
Yeah, you okay? Chelsea, obviously, I've got this mad opinion. I don't think it's that mad, but I just think I think it's going to go wrong. I do. I just feel that it's going to go wrong just because Todd Bowley's doing it all. And I just don't see how that can work in modern day football. And I think there might be a breakdown in communication with him and Tuchel at some point. He seems to be just wanting these statement signings all the time. How long's Koulibaly's deal?
4 years.
4 years, I think, yeah.
The guy's, how old is he?
31.
That's dodge, man. Like even that for me is a bit mad. I'd heard it first 5 years, and I was like, whoa. Like, I don't know. Raheem Sterling, don't get me wrong. I think it's an unbelievable signing. I think we forget how old Sterling actually is. He's still in the prime, like, right? Because he's been around forever. He's still only 27, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Like, it's mad, really, when you think about it. He can carry a team. People say he doesn't score a lot, but if you could. What he did for England, for example, in the Euros, he was the main man. I really rate him. But I don't know. They need reinforcements at the back. Is the midfield aging? Is it that good? I'm not too sure.
Chance creation's a big thing for Chelsea for me, and I think they saw that when Reece James and Chilwell weren't playing. I think Tuchel has to get a little bit more of a tune, and I think that's why that front three has to be fluid. It has to press. Probably the best I saw Chelsea at points last season was when Lukaku didn't play, really, and Havertz, and they had that kind of energy in the team, and Pulisic was fit. I think if they get that right, they'll still be competitive. But I know centre-back is clearly a target area because of the players that they've lost. And I'm hearing stuff like Colwill will go to another club. I think Palace have been linked as well. So it's a bit strange for me. Chelsea selling off Tomori, Gueye, and now another one, even though they've kind of got ready-made players there. I think it's the midfield is a serious area of contention, because I know on the surface people look at it and say Kovacic's a fantastic player, obviously Kante is as well. The age of those players, the injuries of those players, are just
Kante can't play regularly, can he?
No, he can't. And because you play that midfield too, it does feel to me like there needs to be someone in there that A, plays regularly and doesn't get injuries, but B, is very comfortable under pressure, is good defensively as well. I know they like Jorginho. Jorginho isn't getting any younger, so I don't know. I just wonder whether they should look at that. But this is the thing. I think Todd Bowley's actually back Tuchel. I think there's a lot of things being said with regard to if he wants a player, he can have him within reason. Okay. If he doesn't want one like a Ronaldo, then he's not going to sign him, which I think for him is good, but also puts a lot of pressure on Tuchel. If there are the same issues, then it falls on his shoulders. So we'll see. I still think Koulibaly's a really good signing, and I think Sterling's a fantastic signing. So I wouldn't rule him out yet.
They've walked away from Ake as well, I think, haven't they? I think them and City have both
quite right, to be honest. Some of the things that were being quoted, I think it was 55 mil. I think that's what was being touted around. I think Ake would have been a decent signing as a left-sided centre-back, to be honest. I don't think he's as poor as what people would make out as a Manchester City sub, but it's too much money for an area that they could get better value in, I would look at. So, I don't know. It's their money. I don't really care.
Yeah, neither do I. I hope it crashes and burns. What are your thoughts on Chelsea? Do you see you being in third spot, them struggling for top four, or is it a shoe-in, mate?
I don't see them struggling, but I think we have that third spot. Like I said, I think we're in that middle ground where they were last season. But Chelsea, the two signings they've made they're good signings. I think they're big name signings more than their actual quality signings. But their squad is weaker now than it was on the 22nd of May when the season finished. They still have so much work to do. Like, Sterling is an improvement on Lukaku, but having lost Christensen, Rudiger, and Azpilicueta and brought in Koulibaly, that defense is so much weaker. There's so much business that they still have to do. Rudiger was obviously fantastic for them. I think Koulibaly,
them two. You know, I'm just thinking
forward the back as well, though. It's
Thiago Silva and Koulibaly must have like a combined age of nearly 8-year-old, man.
They're probably close to that. But then apparently Thomas Tuchel doesn't think Thiago Silva is good to play in a four-back. But apparently he wants to switch to a forward-back. So is that another centre-back they need? You know, at the back they're much weaker. I agree with Corey about that midfield. Kante, Kovacic and Jorginho. Like, by the names, it's a good midfield. But actually, is there enough physicality? Is there enough fitness within that midfield? Is there enough of a balance in that midfield? You know, there's so many questions that just aren't answered.
You've got Conor Gallagher to throw in that mix, though.
I forgot about him. He's close.
That'll be a good option.
Yeah, I think
they've been desperate. I know they got Jorginho for their build-up play, but an actual physical number 6 that gives them a little bit. Unfortunately, someone called Declan Rice is someone that they're after. So I thought they would have gone for that. But Gallagher, I've actually forgot about Gallagher. That is a great shout. It's a big season for him.
Yeah, it is. I think he'll do well. I really like Loftus-Cheek as well. I do really. I'd love him at Leeds. I think he's class.
Isn't he like 28?
Is he what, sorry?
Isn't he like 28 or something?
I thought he was.
I was shocked when I found out his age recently. Like he just seems like he's 26, but still he's almost like that Lingard thing where everyone just kind of felt he was just always young. He just seems like a future prospect or something. He's 26.
But it will be interesting. I think, like you say, Conor Gallagher, I think will have a great season for him. So we'll have to wait and see. But I hope it crashes and burns. But we'll wait and see. Yeah, I think we're done, aren't we? I think we've covered the main talking points. Liverpool City have done their bits. Did you see Nunez's miss?
Yeah,
hilarious.
It was brilliant, right? Like, I'm not. I'd said this before, though. Listen, I've not watched an awful lot of him, and if Van Dijk's saying, he's one of the hardest strikers I've ever gone up against, then clearly he's talented. You know what I mean? But like, I'm just not sure. I don't know. Haaland will work. I'm not sure on Nunez. I don't know.
I agree.
I know, Corey, you mentioned we discussed it last week, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm a bit sort of reserved to cast judgment on the geezer. I know he's missed two. One of them was a sitter. One of them he should get on target at least. Like I said last week, I think he offers a different dynamic to what they've had previously. And someone actually posed the question whether Liverpool actually have a weaker team now than they do last season. I kind of look at it and think, well, I brought Carvalho in as a little bit more depth and a young player, but I think Sadio Mane is a big loss, I think we'll see that quite early on. He's such a good player. And if Nunez doesn't perform, is the pressure on him? I know Klopp's got a good way of sort of taking the pressure off his players, but that's got to weigh on his mind a little bit. So, but he
best centre forward in the Premier League, Matt, wasn't he?
Do you know what? I was going to bring it up, but man, imagine thinking. Oh no, I can't get into it. I just can't. I can't. I'm going to send him an angry message now after this, just because he reminded me of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Ross was willing to die on that hill as well.
Oh, he was, man.
He would die on Sadio Mane hill.
What was the other one he had one day? He had a Calvert-Lewin shout one day as well, didn't he?
I think he said Origi. I think he said Origi was better than him. I'd rather have Origi or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves it, man. He said something mad last week as well, and I said, he's made another ball claim. He loves it, man. Honestly, I'll never forget when he said Cooper after one of the games. He said Cooper played like Baresi.
God. And he's
brilliant. He's brilliant. Last week I asked. I know it's still early days. Last week I asked who's had the best window. I think I opted for Spurs. I can't remember who Corey said. Was it Spurs, Corey? I doubt it.
Probably, begrudgingly, yeah.
But let's switch it up. Who's been the best signing?
It's got to be Haaland, hasn't it? For what, 45, 50 million?
Yeah.
It's got to be Haaland.
Yeah, it's probably. Yeah.
Sorry to spoil your
interesting
question.
To be honest, you weren't even in my thoughts, man. You weren't even in my thoughts
really?
When you said that. He is. What about you? You're not allowed the same one, Corey.
No.
Yes.
I was going to go either Gabriel Jesus or Bissouma. And
I'll allow it.
I will just about pluck for Jesus.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to go Jesus.
I think Richarlison's a class signing, though. It actually kills me, man. Genuinely. He will bag goals.
The thing about that as well is Arsenal fans keep comparing the signing of Jesus to the signing of Richarlison. Jesus is their main striker. Richarlison is our fourth choice forward. Like there's such a massive difference there. Compare Jesus to Kane, and then compare Nketiah to Richarlison. Like that's more of a fair thing. But yeah, I'm in love with Richarlison already. He's one of my favorite players ever.
I'm looking through these signings, trying to think, mate. I would have said Jesus.
You're not going Sinistero, no? Not backing one of your boys?
Not Rocker? We'll wait and see. Who?
Rocker, isn't it?
Rocker. By the way, baller.
I need to start watching you because I'm so intrigued to see how you lot will play with some of those. Like Sinistero is a serious player.
You don't. I didn't realise just how much of a change it has having a left footer and a right footer in the centre of the park. Do you know what I mean? Instead of two right footers, just like I'm always expecting him to have to put it on his right, and he's just bending it with his left. Honestly, he looks good. Mark Rocker looks really, really good. Tyler Adams seen briefly, but the double pivot of Forshaw and Rocker was class as well for 45 minutes. I know Leeds fans won't want to do that, but I thought it was. But Forshaw just keeps breaking down. I'm worried about Bamford, though. Bamford's broken for me. He's broken, man.
Is he after
Caliber window?
Is he becoming now one of those players where the club goes?
Ledley King, man.
You
Ledley King 2.0. 2.0, man. I think we're getting Callum Awendo in from PSG. He's been on loan at Lens for the last 2 seasons. Got some good numbers there. 21 million, I think. We want CDK, but he wants Milan, so that's going to happen.
I don't think I've heard of any of these players you've signed before you signed them. I'm not saying that means they're bad signings, really, but I genuinely don't think I've heard of any of these.
The guy, Luis Sinisterra, he won the Europa League Conference Young Player of the Year. Final got the final, right? So he did really well. Tyler Adams was at Leipzig.
Okay, I've heard of him.
Yeah, I think the mad thing is, like, everyone wanted Mo Kamara at Salzburg, but Tyler Adams was given his debut by Jesse in New York Red Bulls. Then he took him to Leipzig, etc. So he was always coming in. And Brendan Aronson looks a sort as well. We'll have to wait and see. Again, signing in the summer, Callum McFarlane at Fulham. I don't know. I would have said Jesus. There you go. I would have said Jesus. I think he'll do really, really well. Matt, do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, if anyone, honestly, this is the part where I usually say, if anyone wants to see a Spurs fan cry, just come over to my channel. I can't do that anymore. So if anyone wants to see a Spurs fan cry tears of joy, maybe if you want to see me, mindlessly winding up locks when we get James Maddison. He's actually in my live chat a while ago. He was fighting with a few of my viewers. I just do just transfer streams, Matt Hayes Tottenham blog. Are
you going to change that name up?
I think I am. Yeah.
What are your picks at the minute?
I've got something in mind, but we're going to keep it quiet for now.
You're going to keep it on the down low, yeah?
I'll tell you after.
Until you get the logo sorted and that.
Exactly.
Corey, anything to plug? Harmony mentioned the Skamaka video. Talk to us.
Yeah, pre-season game tomorrow against Reading. I'm hopeful that we'll see a couple of first teamers out there. So I'll do a post-match of that and see where we're at. I'm getting quite excited now. Finally, first teams are getting back. Finally seeing him in pre-season. So yeah, I will be regularly in. And listen, fingers crossed we get a couple of signings before now and the start of the season. So there'll be loads of stuff.
Hope and pray you do, mate. You need a striker, man. You need a striker. Like,
you're telling me, mate. Telling me.
I know.
It's madness. It's madness.
You're there. You're right there. And if you just put that investment in, do you know what I mean?
To be honest, the one thing I'll say is it's not about, and this has been a problem for a long, long time, it's not about the money. I think we pay 30 mil for Broja, and I think we pay whatever Sassuolo want to a degree. I don't think 50 million euros, but maybe closer to 40 for Skamaka. So I think that's out the window. It's because it's so close, and it's kind of, and the Broja one feels inevitable. Chelsea don't really want him. He wants regular game time. West Ham want him. He's a fit for Moyes. But you're right. Look, I mean, I think we need 2 more strikers, to be honest. But I'll take one for now and then move on.
Good stuff, boys. Make sure you both enter the Fantasy Premier League as well. The link's in the description.
I've got a tasty team lined up. Have you got it in? I haven't got it in the league yet, but I've sorted my team out, so I'll crack on with that.
Good man, get it in the league because we're going to be speaking about it regularly on the show. I think it'll be good to do that. So yeah, anyone else who hasn't joined the league as well, we've got loads in there, to be fair, so that's class. And we'll probably see you next Friday if we're out and about. I'll be back on Sunday for the watch along against Aston Villa. So make sure you join me for that as well as we play at Aston Villa over in Oz. And thanks for watching. Make sure you check out Matt and Corey, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.